Yeah, so today we're covering a YouTuber who, to put it lightly, is fucking massive. His name is Isaac Butterfield. Huge fucking Australian YouTuber. Massive YouTuber, okay? Massive reach. Tons of people watch him. This video alone from back in 2018, which I know, old video, people have been recommending it to me though, so we're gonna watch it, has nearly 1 million subs, okay? Just short of it, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and check out this video. It's called "It's Okay to Be White?" question mark. So I'm gonna go ahead and give a little forthcoming to you all right now. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. There is nothing inherently wrong with the statement, "It's okay to be white." I'm an edgy guy, okay? I like to joke about white genocide and whatnot. Like, it's funny, okay? We joke around, but they're just jokes, okay? And I make sure the jokes never get to the point where people in my audience unironically want to kill all white people, okay? Obviously. Now, on their own, or on its own, the statement "it's okay to be white," harmless, pretty inert. Oh, thank you, babe. Orange juice, poggers. On its own, that statement is obviously not something you would disagree with, right? Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with being white, right? Like, come on, like, of course not. Nobody, like, only racists hate people over another person's race. But the statement "it's okay to be white" doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists within the real world, which is filled with complicated and dissenting political opinions, some of which are, to put it lightly, kinda bad. So, ever since Black Lives Matter, and just a lot of more, like, pro-black, pro-POC civil rights, movements have been very, pervasive in society, we've seen a pushback from those that disagree with that. Particularly from, like, white nationalists and unironic racists, you know, ones that are, like, pretty fucking open about being racist, right? And they've sort of perpetuated a victim culture around being white. Because the idea of black people or just non-white people sort of like speaking out against racism, they see that as being anti-white. Which is ironic, because for one, they're usually the ones that claim that black people exist in a victim culture when they themselves are trying to push a victim narrative around white people. And on top of that, claiming that there is something inherently racist about being white. This is one of the things that have always made me so frustrated with the phrase "it's okay to be white." Because when you see the people who say this, the people who knowingly say it with their intentions, you know, forthcoming, the implication of their statement is that racism is inherent to being white. And I don't agree with that. I don't think all white people are racist. Now, I can only hope that I really don't know much about Isaac Butterfield. I like to hope that he's not like a hardcore reactionary, like a alt-righter or hardcore conservative or a racist or anything like that. That would be quite worrying if a 1.5 million subscriber YouTuber existed and did in fact hold those views. But let's go ahead and get into the video.
G'day ladies and gentlemen, my name's Isaac Butterfield. I hope you're doing real bloody well, and as you can probably tell, I was born white. Like most people, I'm unable to control the amount of melanin that my skin produces, and here we are, pale as fuck. Like, honestly, if you high beam me in your car, I'm gonna get fucking burnt. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how you look. There's nothing wrong with your skin color. We're all very different people. Some white people are whiter than others. Some dark people are darker than others. Brown people are browner than others. We're all bloody different, and it's okay. It's good. Variety is the spice of life, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you're white, apparently. That's bad, apparently.
No.
Personally, and I think I speak for most people when I say this, I don't give a fuck what skin color you are, what gender you are, what sexual preference you have, what fucking hobbies you enjoy. As long as you are kind to me, then I will return the favor. We live in a world...
So, it's possible that Isaac Butterfield is 100% sincere in this statement and genuinely believes it. The problem is, I hear this statement a lot from people. From people who are kind of normies in the political space, you know, not really like super hell-bent on being on one side or the other. They kind of go for sort of a libertarian stance of, hey, listen, as long as you're not hurting me, as long as you're not negatively affecting me, you can do whatever you want. The problem is, the long and short of it is that everything in politics affects you to some degree or another. It could be physically and tangibly and materially, or it could be emotionally. I would like to bet that this guy, if he saw, for example, like a trans person being cringy, like, you know that one video of the trans lady in the GameStop where she's like having kind of a tantrum, which is what it was. Was it justified? I would argue yes. I mean, she was in distress because somebody had referred to her as a guy. Nonetheless, though, that video is very cringy. Do you think if he saw that video, despite the fact that woman doesn't hurt him in any way, there's no way whatsoever in which that woman is harming him or impeding his life, would you bet that he would have nothing to say about that video, nothing negative to say about it whatsoever, or about the woman in said video? Probably not. So I don't necessarily buy that he doesn't give a shit as long as you don't hurt him. On top of that, if we talk about the ways in which politics tangibly affects him, those that have dissenting opinions of him tangibly affects him, how much would you like to bet he has a negative opinion on BLM? Perhaps he believes... Wait, people are sending me links. People are sending me Isaac Butterfield links. Wait, he does have negative opinions on trans people?
A girl who is 4 years old does not need, if she feels like she's a boy, a fake penis. G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past few years, you'd probably think the entire, Western civilization has had this thought once in their minds. Why don't we just let kids be kids? I know I have, and I'm sure you have as well. So why don't you subscribe? But if you're thinking to yourself, why don't we just let kids be kids? Well, I've got something for you that you need to take into your own lives, all right? You're a racist Nazi scum, and I'm about to tell you why. Because there's shit like this in newspapers and articles, in magazines, all over the internet. And I'll warn you, this is the cringiest fucking thing that I've ever read, ever. Are you ready? Okay, here it goes. Mum of gender non-conforming child, gender non-conforming. Even just reading that makes me think, this poor child has just been attacked by their parents with their ideologies.
Isaac Butterfield, do you actually think that you believe, deep down in your heart, that as long as something doesn't affect you, you don't care about it and you're fine with it? Do you genuinely believe that? Now, I don't think he knows what gender non-conforming means. Gender non-conforming basically just means somebody who doesn't really conform to traditional gender roles or gender identities. It's as simple as that, okay? Trans people are technically gender non-conforming. A gay dude who is kind of flamboyant, it would be gender non-conforming in some way. Basically, anybody who doesn't fit into the prescribed roles that somebody of a particular gender is meant to inhabit would be gender non-conforming. It's a broader umbrella, but specifically usually referring to trans people. Now, every time a reactionary puts forth to me a story about some young kid being forced into transitioning by their parents, I end up looking up the story, and it's nothing like how it's framed. It's nowhere near as bad as it was framed. Well, let's see.
It's fucking gross. What 5-year-old child gives a shit about what gender it is? There are no 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 3-year-old children about to walk into preschool giving a shit about that. They're just out there playing, chewing on fucking blocks. They don't give a shit.
This is a very unfortunate argument for you, Isaac Butterfield, because as it turns out, it is the overwhelming consensus of sociologists that gender roles and expectations begin to affect toddlers. It goes back to the toys that you buy for your children. You know, back in the 1920s, at least here in the good old US of A, it used to be that blue, you know, the light baby blue that we now associate with boys, was a girl color because it was seen as soft and gentle like a girl. And pink, the bright pink that we now associate with girls, was a manly color, or a color for boys, because it was bright, vibrant, and energetic, like boys are. But over time, the our society sort of moved on from that, and due to mostly marketing, now pink is considered a girl's color and blue is considered a boy's color. In fact, when you look at most images depicting boy-girl, you usually see those are the two colors. Pink goes to the girls, blue for the boys. That's usually how it goes. I'm not debating you right now, Gwyff Hegel, okay? I'm fucking doing a video. If we even go further back than that, it used to be way back in the olden days. Go look at old paintings of men back in like the fucking Renaissance or whatever. They wore dresses and frilly wigs, and hell, some of them even wore makeup. Yeah, gender is a thing that sort of evolves over time and starts to affect you at a very young age. So yes, there are 5-year-olds who care about gender. They may not know what gender really is, but they're still affected by it, and their preferences may give some indication as to whether or not they might be transgender one day when they're older.
Shit at all. All they want to do is watch the hooly doolies, watch bananas in pajamas, and shit their pants. That's what I want to do too, but I have to go on tour and shit. It's fucking gross. If this article should have said anything, it should have started with mum who brainwashed child, but anyway.
Hold on. Mum of gender oh god, it says mum. How much you want to bet this is a TERF website? This is definitely a TERF website. I'm calling it right now. The mum at the beginning? No, that sets off an alarm right there. Mum of gender non-conforming child sells fake extra small penises for transgender kids aged under 5. Hold on, let's take a look at this. Let's see. Mum of oh, someone found a mirror of it for me. Okay, here's a link to it. Mirror.co.uk. Mum of gender non-conforming child sells fake extra small penises for transgender kids aged under 5. The teeny tiny silicone packers can be worn by kids under 5 and are even available circumcised and give the appearance of a male bulge. Okay. The mum of a gender non-conforming child is selling fake extra small penises for transgender kids under the age of 5. The teeny tiny silicone packers can be worn by children who identify or express themselves as male to give the appearance of a bulge. Available circumcised and in several colors, included cashew, caramel, and hazelnut. I guess those are the colors? Oh god. They're on sale alongside bigger packers that are targeted at kids aged between 5 and 8. The items classified as extra small are among a number of children's products related to gender expression available via the website transkids.biz. Extra small fake penis, on the right, next to the one for older children. YouTube should be fine with this, right? This is educational content. The fake penises come in a variety of colors, and I guess these are random things. Ran by mum Sarah I'm not even gonna try to fucking pronounce that name. The site also offers stand-to-pee devices for youngsters who are born female but wish to stand up while urinating. That's pretty fucking cool. Hey, if you're a young trans dude, like if you're, I guess I probably have to explain the trans kids stuff, don't I? Okay, here we go. All right. A plurality of data suggests that young children begin to experience the symptoms of gender incongruence or gender dysphoria at a very, very young age. Now, this is usually comes along with the caveat that a trained medical professional identifies these tendencies or these symptoms of gender dysphoria or other gender incongruencies. Now, at no point would a medical professional, nor am I aware of this happening, would ever have a child go through a sex change, to put it in layman's terms. That is to say, no child is, quote, having their dick lopped off, or anything like that. Now, for children, generally what will happen is while they are prepubescent, meaning they have not gone through puberty, they have not begun to develop the traits that would be associated with the sex they were born as, they will be given, with the consent of a doctor, hormone blockers. Now, hormone blockers are not hormones. Children do not start to sexually transition at a young age. This just doesn't happen. No medical professional would give the okay on this because, of course, there's a possibility that the kid may change their mind at some point and be like, oh, okay, oh, all right, well, you know, I wasn't actually trans. I was just going through a phase, you know, I was just a kid, you know. So instead, they go on hormone blockers, which are not hormones. Big clarification there. And all they do is basically make it so you don't go through puberty for a little while. They hold it back for a little bit, which sort of allows you to stay in this almost what's the word for it? Where you can't really tell what sex somebody is or what gender they are. Like they just kind of, you know, kids don't like, you couldn't at a certain age you can't tell a young boy from a young girl. Androgynous, that's the word. Thank you, androgynous. At a certain age, before puberty, you generally can't do much to tell the difference between a young girl and a young boy. Those extra sexual characteristics sort of come around as they go through puberty. So essentially, those kids, with the medical consent of a doctor, would be put on hormone blockers, which keep them in that state for a while longer until they reach a developmental stage in which it is appropriate to deem that they are, in fact, trans. Oh, shit. Hell yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you, babe. Oh, yeah, chat, look at that. We got eggs, bacon, and toast. Fuck yeah. I'll save this for the Sargon rap. Now, I'll say this right now about the fake dicks for the children. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if it's necessary, but it's not really hurting anybody. In what way are these kids being harmed by it? I really can't imagine a way in which it is. Now, Isaac Butterfield says it's because of children being attacked by their parents' gender ideology, which is basically word for word what you would expect from a transphobe. But I will say that the standing, those things that like a young kid could use to stand up while peeing actually sounds really cool. I don't know about like the fake dicks for like having a bulge or whatever. It's kind of, I mean, okay, I guess. Like it's not hurting anybody, but a little odd, I guess. Not really my cup of tea, I suppose. But it is actually pretty cool to have like a thing for potentially young trans dudes to be able to learn how to pee standing up and to have an apparatus for doing so, in fact. Sounds pretty cool. I mean, all of this is generally done. Like, if you've got a potentially transgender child, it's all done with the express consent of a medical professional. So I don't see where the issue is there, unless you disagree with the medical community, Isaac Butterfield. But yeah, people are sending me a lot of links to videos in which he goes after some SJW or leftist movement or whatever. So I'm getting the idea this guy might not be honest in the claim he made before that he doesn't care as long as it doesn't affect him.
Where we can send rockets up into space. We can talk instantaneously with someone else on the other side of the globe. And yet somehow we can't say that it's okay to be white. That's a weird time to be alive. Last week,
It is a weird time to be alive. I'll be honest. It's unfortunate that there are people out there, white nationalists and white supremacists and all sorts of racists, that have poisoned the phrase "it's okay to be white." It's unfortunate that that phrase, on its own, just can't exist within a vacuum anymore in our society. I am very sad that there is an epidemic of white supremacists and racists that have poisoned this word to be a dog whistle for racism. And it's sad, and that's what I try to fight. Isaac Butterfield, my ideal world, one day you'll be able to say out in the street, "It's okay to be white," and people walking by will be like, "Uh-huh, and the sky is blue. What are you talking about?" Like, okay, cool. That's my ideal future, okay? That's what I am fighting for, all right? The problem is, it's not the progressives and the leftists and the SJWs fighting against the phrase in a vacuum that it's okay to be white. It is the reactionaries, the right-wingers, the white supremacists that are poisoning this word to mean racism is okay. Which on its own adds a negative stigma to what it is to be white. You should be against it just as much as I am.
Australian media was up in arms, blowing up about Senator Pauline Hanson asking the most despicable question of all time in Parliament. Is it okay to be white?
Anyone who pays attention to the news or spends any time on social media has to acknowledge that there has been a rise.
Isn't Pauline Hanson fucking insane? Hold on. I've heard a ton of bad shit about that person. Hold on. Boomer typing. Pauline Lee Hanson is an Australian politician who is the founder and leader of One Nation, a right-wing populist political party. She's been a senator for Queensland, of course it's Queensland, since 2016. Hanson ran a fish and chip shop before entering politics as a member of Ipswich City Council in 1994. So Pauline Hanson is a right-wing populist, which means white nationalist. Populism is like the idea of like, generally, if we're talking about right-wing populism, it's another word for white nationalist. They always end up being white nationalists. Tucker Carlson, for example, is called a right-wing populist. He's just a white nationalist. The idea behind it, the reason why they call it populism, is because they advocate for populist policy, or they advocate for racist policy from a populist perspective. Sort of like, what's an example? We stop immigration to save jobs. If we stop immigration and cut it all off, then our people will have more jobs. Now, not only is this line of logic fucking ridiculous because of a variety of reasons I'll probably have to get into later in this video, but the people he's appealing to are both those that want to keep their gerbs and also those that want to keep brown people out. Wait, what hold on, hold on, let me check something. Let's see, are there any controversies? Is there a controversy section? Racism allegations. Despite Hanson's repeated denials of charges of racism, because of course no racist, admits they're racist, her views on race, immigration, and Islam have been discussed widely in Australia. In her maiden speech to Parliament in 1996, Hanson appealed to economically disadvantaged white Australians by expressing dissatisfaction with the government policy on Indigenous affairs. Ah yes, gotta fucking wipe out the Indigenous people. Following Hanson's maiden speech, her views received negative coverage across Asian news media in 1996, and Deputy Prime Minister and Trade Minister Tim Fischer criticized the race debate initiated by Hanson, saying it was putting Australian exports and jobs at risk, which it probably does. Hold on, somebody's got a Rational Wiki page? Oh yeah, they always just distill all the fucking shit into one fucking thing for you to get to. Let's see. Where's the racism shit? Pauline, Australia's most honest politician. I assume that's a sarcastic tagline. The Witch of Ipswich, amazing fucking tagline. Hanson, aka James Ashby, is a former star of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Parliament. I don't know why this is crossed out. Fish and chip shop owner and current leader of One Nation, a far-right Australian political party. As of 2019, the party holds 2 federal Senate seats. Hanson's veracity, anti-immigration stance, or voraciously, I'm sorry, fucking SAT word right there. Anti-immigration stance is weakened somewhat by the fact that about 49% of Australians in 2016 were either foreign-born or had at least one foreign-born parent. It was weakened further by your 2010 decision to immigrate to a small... Okay. She's a far-right fucking demagogue, alright? We all know, alright? She's fucking insane. So of course she would dog whistle some racist bullshit with the it's okay to be white shit. Nobody's surprised here.
Rise in anti-white racism and a rise in attacks on the very ideals of Western civilization. I would also hope the Senate does the right thing and acknowledges it is indeed okay to be white. Such a simple sentence should go without saying, but I suspect many members in this place would struggle to say it.
Oh, wow. Said it each.
Now, Pauline Hanson obviously has a bit of a reputation for being a bit fucking batshit, but here's the craziest thing of all.
Okay. Yeah, no, Isaac, you're right. She does have a reputation for being a little bit batshit, but also racist. There isn't an anti-white narrative going around, okay? Can you show me anywhere where there's an anti-white narrative going around? The first thing you'd probably point to would be BLM. But BLM's not anti-white. Look at the fucking protests on TV. There's a shit ton of people marching with them. It's not white versus black. It's racism versus anti-racism. So if you're not racist, then you should feel no reason to be worried about this. You're fine if you're not racist.
Pauline's right. And a lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people were just filthy that she would say that. They couldn't believe that that's what came out of her mouth. They were up in arms, ladies and gentlemen. They were blowing up. And I tend to agree.
The reason why they were up in arms is because nowadays in America, or at least the world's political climate, or I should say the West's political climate, it's okay to be white has become a dog-whistled retort to anti-racism. And not to mention, Pauline, whatever the fuck her name is, I already forgot because she's a fucking Australian politician, doesn't really affect my life too much, is known to be a far-right nutcase. That's why people were mad. I don't think anyone would be mad if she'd made the statement, water is wet, or the sky is blue. Nobody would have made a big deal about that. The reason why they made a big deal about it's okay to be white was because, for one, she went off about some imagined victim complex anti-white narrative, and then repeated a very common dog whistle against anti-racism.
With them. I mean, how dare you say that, Pauline? Of course it's okay to be white. It's always been okay to be white. No white person has ever felt discriminated against. And I, for one, completely agree.
Okay, let's look at the screen right now. We've got a article from God knows what, and that says, do white people need to stop using the term woke? Yeah, probably. It's a pretty annoying term. I imagine Isaac Butterfield would agree with that. We've got a Chris D. Stedman tweet that said, yeah, all I want for Christmas is no more white people. And I think you can probably see just past my webcam there, 1 like. Okay. We've got a tweet from Ray Sani. It says, yes, I'm a racist. I hate white people. Most of all you happy now. And then the quoted tweet is unavailable, probably because it got banned from Twitter or something. That has 67 likes. I would venture to guess that that's sarcasm, but maybe it's not, even if it isn't. This is just some fucking random lady on Twitter. A random Twitter post that says, I hate white people. Can't see how many likes it has, probably not many. And a tweet from Eric Lifeson. Any white people that died in London tonight deserved it. They keep spewing their filthy nationalistic bullshit. This is what they get. What was this, June 3rd, 2017? Is he referring to a specific event? Hold on. I'm curious. I'm gonna do a little bit of... I'm gonna do a little bit of internet sleuthing really fast. Hold on. Let's see. June 3rd, 2017. London. What happened in London? Terrorist attack on London Bridge. 2017 London Bridge attack. On June 3rd, 2017, a terrorist vehicle ramming and stabbing took place in London, England. A van was deliberately driven into pedestrians on London Bridge and then crashed on the south bank of the River Thames. Wait, it was a fucking terrorist attack. Was it literally white nationalist terrorists that died doing this terrorist attack? Hold on, I need to figure out more. Hold on. Hold on, let's figure out more. Here's the New York Times. Holy shit, that's zoomed out a lot. Another night of terrorism unfolded in Britain on Saturday with 2 attacks that killed 6 civilians in the center of the capital. At least one of the dead was killed when a van creeped around the sidewalk going down pedestrians. The center, 3 attackers. The police said they killed 3 attackers, which they believe to be the total number of assailants. They believe they killed all 3 of the attackers. Witnesses reported that at least one man jumped out of the van wielding a large knife and ran into the nearby Borough Market, a popular spot for pubs and restaurants on the southern side of the Thames. The Thames. Okay, so there might have been a fourth person. Heavily armed police responded to the bridge attack, which took place at 10 p.m. And when the officers to investigate the stabbings, the police shot and killed 3 attackers there in the 8 minutes of receiving the first emergency call. Just tell me what their deal was. No one was claiming responsibility for the attacks. They hit a nation still reeling from the shock of the bombing in Manchester almost 2 weeks ago, when a suicide bomber blew himself up outside the doors of an Ariana Grande concert. There's 20 people killed. Saturday's attack was reminiscent of another on Westminster Bridge on March 22nd when Khalid Masood, 52, drove a car into pedestrians, killing 4 people. That's not this one, though. Britain prepares for national elections on this week. Can we figure out who the guy that did this was? Can we find out who did it? Hey, chat. Can anybody here send me a link to Can anyone send me a link to a story that actually says who it is? We can see your emails. My emails are public, guys. What are you talking about? Xander Hall TV is the email that you guys fucking email me for things. Okay. Apparently, this is one of them? No, that has to be a cop. Hold on, I need to find out who did this, okay? Was this like some sort of like Islamic terror attack or something? I'm starting to think they might not have been... Okay, the attackers' names were Kuram Shahzad Butt, Rachid Redunain, I don't know, and Yusuf Bagda. So I'm going to guess not white. Probably not a white nationalist terrorist attack. So, in light of this, and doing my sleuthy research, we have either a troll or an actual anti-white racist cheering on those that were killed in a terror attack. Not cool, but only 156 likes. A tweet that probably has 2 likes because we're not showing how many it has. A tweet that might be sarcastic with 67 likes. A tweet with 1 like, and an article about white people not using the term woke. So, not a lot of evidence here of anti-white racism. Now, are there people out there that are anti-white? Like, full-on just hate white people? Of fucking course there are. Listen, I'm a leftist. A white leftist at that, okay? I have dealt with unironic anti-white racism, okay? I had my own little anti-black separatism arc, okay? I had literal fucking, like, anti-white black fucking supremacists on Twitter telling me that it was good that my mom was abusive towards me because when I was younger, I was a reactionary and I was kind of racist. Those people exist. The problem is the capacity to which I'm affected by those people, and which anybody is really affected by those people, is the immense amount of brain worms that you get from looking at what they say. They're very stupid, and it's you know, it kind of puts you in a bad mood, you know, seeing someone say something so dumb. But what do people of color that are affected by racism have to deal with? Because it's not just tweets and trolling. They do get plenty of that. There's also a wide variety of systemic racism, which is accepted by the academic community, in fact, researched by, and the evidence is put forth by them as its existence. Everything, especially when it comes to the criminal justice system. Let's talk about the ways in which black people, for example, this includes Hispanic people and other people of color in America, but I'm talking specifically America. The entire criminal justice system, from the chances of getting pulled over, and which during a study, I believe 10 million traffic stops across America, they found that if you were black, no matter what the condition of your car was, what reason there would be for pulling you over, you were at a massively disproportionate advantage of getting pulled over if you're black. Like, you were way more likely to get pulled over. Not only that, but these rates dropped massively at night, whenever you can't tell what the race of the person driving the car is. Okay, well, okay, racist cops, those exist, right? They're individual people, but let's talk about how it goes further, okay? In the court system, if you are black, you are more than twice as likely to be incarcerated for the same crime, with the same amount of priors, taking into account courtroom demeanor. You are way more likely to get a harsher sentence than a white person for the same crime. It's true. I mean, I know you probably hear this stat go around a lot, and you probably think, oh, it's not like that. But no, I've done the research, and it's true. Not to mention, it goes up even larger if it was a murder or a violent crime, and it was done by a black person onto a white person. Specifically, if it was black on white crime, the sentencing goes up even higher. They're also way more likely to get the death penalty if it's a state where the death penalty is allowed. African Americans are 6 times more likely to get stopped by the police. Yep, that's what we talked about earlier. Now, we don't really need to get too much into the fact that black people are incarcerated at an unbelievably higher rate proportionally to white people. It's insane. The prison system here in America is horrific. It's not focused whatsoever on rehabilitation. It's just a money-making scheme that is basically built up on making prisoners there as miserable as possible. There's no focus on rehabilitation. It's all about making money, and the prison system is rife with violence and rape and criminal gangs and criminality. Most people come out of prison having committed more crime than they did when they went in, because the way that prison works basically necessitates that you commit some level of crime, whether it be something small or big, just to survive. If you don't get into a gang in prison, in which you're probably going to be pressured into doing some shit, you ain't got any protection while you're there. There's a lot of white dudes who went to prison that had to join the Aryan Brotherhood to get by. Because on top of that, racist sentiment on both sides is magnified in prison due to the fact that everybody is locked in a fucking cells, locked in a fucking cell block, where everybody has to prove how tough they are in order to save their ass. I can go all into how fucking awful our criminal justice system is, specifically to black people. Now, white people are affected by it too, but black people way more so. And I could go off about the schooling system, about how most black people in America live in poverty, and if you live in poverty, you live in a shitty house, and since schools here in America are funded by property tax, and if you live in a shitty living situation, you probably go to a shitty school, which means you're going to get a shitty education, which means you probably can't go to a good college, if not go to college at all, which means you're just going to go through the same cycle of poverty and crime over and over and over again. This is how black people deal with anti-black racism. With white people, it's, here are some tweets with, like, at most 200 likes.
There is absolutely no example of discrimination at all against people who currently have white skin or come from a Caucasian background or are pale or happen to be, whitey in a little sort of a way, that type of thing. Definitely no discrimination at all, except for fucking shit tons of examples. Because apparently the world that we have moved into over the past 10 years or so is...
Of course, racism against white people exists, but it doesn't exist systemically. Racism affects you to the degree that you see it and you're like, wow, what a racist piece of shit. And then you move on with your day. That's how it is for white people. For black people, it's pervasive, affects every fucking molecule of their life. You realize there are people alive today who I think was either parents or grandparents were slaves, right? Here in America? Hold on. Let me check. People alive in US today whose parents were slaves. Let's look alone at how recent slavery was. It was written in 2016. The children of ex-slaves are still alive. There are people that were alive and probably still are alive today as of 2016 whose parents were slaves. In America. It wasn't that long ago, guys. It really wasn't that long ago. And reparations were never paid to those slaves, guys. They just weren't. They were never, I think they were promised like an acre of land and a mule, or an acre of land and a goat. I believe that's what it was. How many known children of slavery are alive today? Here we go. Let's see. Whoop. Alright, this is a fucking Quora question. I'm not going off of that. Stop it. Not good sources, okay? Now, even if you're like 25, 30, or whatever today and you're black, okay? You've got a couple generations between you and slavery. That's pretty good, right? Like, I imagine there's a lot of time there for things to heal up and for you to gain economic growth. Nope! Sorry, not how it works. Because guess what? Up until the 60s, segregation was a thing. In most of the country. Well, in all the country, for the most part. And was still a thing for a little while after. Segregation was a thing. I don't think I need to get into how literally legally treating black people as like lesser and different than white people might affect their ability to get by in society. What about redlining? This is actually true. The number way in which families grow their wealth is through inheritance in generational wealth. It's the number one way most people do it. And black people just don't have that luxury for the most part because of the fact that up until recently, it was illegal, or it was legal for banks to deny loans to black people to buy homes in certain areas. It was called redlining. Very well studied thing that happened here in America. And it wasn't that long ago. It was only a few decades ago. So this caused a lot of black people to be forced, even if they had some money, to live in very shitty neighborhoods in the inner city. Which sucks. So they didn't have any land or property or nice houses to inherit. If you're alive today and you're like 20 years old and you're black, your parents lived through segregation most likely, and redlining, probably couldn't buy a house. They were told by the bank, you're black, can't buy a house here, we're not giving you a loan for that. And it was not based on credit. A lot of fucking racists try to claim that. It was not based on credit. It was said in the law, in the fucking paperwork, because you're black. Go back even further, you got sundown towns, literal public lynchings happening for decades, and not too long after that, slavery. That is the history of black people, at least here in America. I don't know about Australia, but that's how black people here in America, at least, experience racism.
Is a world where you should not and you cannot judge someone on the color of their skin unless they're white. That is a dangerous world to be a part of, because it is not reverse racism to be racist against white people. It's just racist. Either
True.
all of it's okay or none of it's okay.
It's not none of it's okay.
None of it's okay. Being racist
okay.
1,000 years ago used to make sense because someone looked different to you and they arrived at your hut or your tribe, then chances are they're going to fuck you up. All right? So you need to be...
It's not actually true. You know, Irish people and Italians who, for all intents and purposes, look white. I mean, look at an Irish person, look at an Italian. Maybe some Italian people have like olive skin, but I'm Italian. I think I'm second generation Italian immigrant technically. I forget how far back it goes. It's not that long. And I look pretty fucking white. Granted, I'm half Irish, but still, I know I'm one of the Hibernians. I look pretty fucking white. I look whiter than Isaac Butterfield. Thing is, though, at least here in America back in the 1920s, and I can only really speak for America because it's where most of my research is done, but I imagine something equatable to this is true of Australia back in the day. Back in the 1920s, Italian people and Irish people were not seen as white. In fact, Irish people were basically conglomerated into these ghettos and these slums, just like black people were. Now, Irish people eventually managed to get through it. Mind you, like, we can go really far into it. Like, there were literally signs. Like, back during segregation, there were signs over, like, water fountains and bathrooms that said, whites only, Irish need not apply. Like, no, you're not white if you're Irish. These don't apply to you. You aren't one of us. But eventually, over time, it's sort of, you know, Irish people got included. Hey, babe, could you get me some salt and pepper for my egg? It just happened over time. What about Italians? Well, we actually have a pretty comparable instance here, because Italians, due to the situation they were going through, they ended up getting into crime like crazy. It used to be that Italians committed the vast majority of crime in the United States because they were the ones running the fucking mafia. That was where that came from. Even if you were just some shop owner, like some Italian shop owner, you got involved with the fucking mafia, both for protection as well as to keep yourself safe from said mafia. You would become part of the family, basically. And you would cover for them. You would provide them safe houses if they needed it to hide from the police. You'd provide them with locations, food, whatever. It was the mob, you know? That's what happened then. But nowadays, it's not really so much the case. Italians have basically been integrated into the social construct that is whiteness, which I imagine this would trigger any reactionary watching this. But yes, race is socially constructed as we understand it now. There's a reason why, despite nowadays we think obviously Italians and Irish people are white for the most part, back then they just weren't seen that way. Eventually, Italians were given the white card, Irish people were given the white card, and nowadays they're basically on par with white people. They're just white people. They're doing pretty good for the most part, statistically. Well, we live under capitalism, so not everybody can do good, but comparatively, they're doing pretty good. Now, black people, on the other hand, not so much. All right, we've been pausing this way too much. This is going on for like 45 minutes. Let's continue.
But now, no, you can live next to 6 different people with 6 different skin tones. It doesn't matter. I am not 100% sold on the idea that people are racist. I don't think people are racist. It's the same thing. I don't think people are sexist, and I don't think people are homophobic. I just think those people with those views are fuckwits. Like, ask yourself this, and I've said this before. How many people in your friend group right now can you say are 100% racist, or 100% sexist, or 100%...
Well, this rhetorical question isn't really going to work on me because I'm a leftist, and I don't really keep a lot of racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever friends, but the problem is, he's right to a degree. There's not a lot of people out there that are racist, that are just like 100% racist. It's true. Yes, I love my big toast. It's a big fucking egg toast sandwich, okay? There aren't a lot of people out there that are racist down to the bone, that just fucking despise black people or white people or whatever race they're racist against with every fiber of their being. It's actually pretty fucking rare. But there are a lot of people who maybe are a little bit racist. And I think that's most people that you would call racist. Maybe they think that black people are kind of a bit dumber than white people, you know? Oh, I mean, if you look at their average IQ, I mean, they kind of are dumber, right? Yeah, I guess, black people are kind of dumber than white people, you know? Maybe they don't hate black people, but they think that, which is obviously not true, but still kind of racist. Or what about the crime? Maybe they say, oh yeah, black people commit more crime, it's kind of a problem, but and they go on with that. Like, that's not necessarily like down to the bone hatred, but it's still racist and worth acknowledging. What about homophobia? Maybe you don't hate gay people, but you think it's disgusting when you see them walking down the sidewalk holding hands or they kiss. I mean, maybe you're not homophobic, but you still kind of think they're gross. And so on, right?
Homophobic. Listen, if you can say that more than 1 or 2 people are in your friend group that are like that, they shouldn't be in your fucking friend group, mate. You shouldn't associate with those fucking backwards pieces of shit. All you have to do is spend 5 or 10 minutes looking around YouTube or somewhere on the internet, and you find out that if you're a white person, then you are a bad person. And you're a bad person not because of what you have done personally, but what your ancestors have done. And there is no...
I've tried to do what he said you can do. There's not a lot of, like, large figures or people in power making that claim. Are there a bunch of dumbfuck 15-year-old Tumblrites on Twitter saying that kind of shit? Absolutely. You can find people on Twitter saying all sorts of things. There's flat earthers and anti-vaxxers and QAnoners and what have you out there. Of course there's crazy people on the internet, but No one's saying that you need to be ashamed for being white. I'm not ashamed for being white. I'll never be ashamed for being white. Fuck off. Never. However, the argument that's generally being made is that as a white person, statistically, you are afforded a number of privileges that most races outside of white people don't really have in most countries. And since white people are generally the ones in power, it is your responsibility as the ones in power to try to make the world a better place for other groups of people that are the victim of different systemic racisms or policies that were affected by said thing, or, you know, just making things better. Make the world a better place. You're the ones in power. You're the ones with the power to do it. All they can do is really just, like, protest for it, which is, you know, their part. But when it's mostly white people that are the ones in parliament or government or what have you, then they're the ones that change the laws. They're the ones that write the policy. That's all anyone's saying.
No doubt that my ancestors, and probably yours, did some very fucked up things. But here's the question. I didn't do that. I've treated everyone that I've met in my life with respect. And I will continue to always do that. Respect and with love. Because I'm a nice guy. But people feel that you should apologise for your ancestors, and
I've never seen this happen. I imagine maybe some fucking, I don't know, like whenever, I've been called, like, colonizer before, and whenever I get called something like that, I'm like, fuck off. Because anyone who would say that clearly doesn't give a shit about, like, fixing racism. They're just, like, you know, just sort of being racist, you know? No, like, when most people say what this guy interprets as apologize for being white, they're just saying, hey, stop denying that there is, like, a lot of racist policy and systemic racism against people of color, and try to, like, speak out against it, or at least, like, not speak out against those that are speaking out against it.
Understand where they're coming from, but if my great-great-great-great-grandfather stole a loaf of bread, should I apologise to that baker's descendants? It's not the exact same thing, but it's on the same spectrum. Where does this stop? Where do you stop apologising? Where do you move on? It's class guilt, and it's ridiculous. Now, the motion that the Australian Senator put forward was voted down, but it was a very close vote, 32 to 28. But then, after that, the Australian government went all over the Australian media apologising, saying that no, this was an administrative error, this did not happen. But it did. What does that mean? What are you trying to say? Are you saying it's not okay to be white? Mixed messages, ladies and gentlemen. Now, many people have pointed to...
As I said before, it's okay to be white, at least in the West, has become a common dog whistle for white nationalists, saying it's okay to be racist, which I find offensive, because I don't think racism or whiteness is inherently racist. So, you know, they're probably apologizing for the white nationalist dog whistle getting a pretty close to majority amount of votes in the Australian whatever the fuck, I don't know.
To the "it's okay to be white" phrase and connected that with the Ku Klux Klan. Now, okay, you can do that if you like, but you could also connect it to its main origin, which is from 4chan. 4chan is a website that I've never visited, and from all reports I should never visit. Apparently it's just a troll. But what does it say when...
Okay, listen. Poe's Law. Alright? Something is a joke or a troll until it stops being a joke or a troll. I think we all know that 4chan, and I'm sure this guy can admit it too, there's a lot of fucking Nazis on 4chan, like legit Nazis. It's hard to tell who's, like, being ironically a Nazi and who's seriously one, due to the fact that 4chan lets you be completely... God, I'm burping a lot today because it's big breakfast. Because 4chan lets you be completely anonymous, but come on. If people are taking it seriously, and it's being acted on as though it's serious by those that are perpetuating it, whether the original intentions were a troll or not, then it's now recognized as a white supremacist dog whistle. It's like the same for the OK sign, you know? The 4chan originally meant it to be like a troll, you know? They were going to say, oh yeah, it's white power, right? And it was going to be a troll to troll the media, you know? And you know, they got the media pretty good. The media did their thing, right? But then actual white nationalists and white supremacists started doing it. Like, unironically. After shooting up a fucking mosque and killing 51 people, the Christchurch shooter went and flashed the fucking OK sign while walking by doing his little thing, his little trial, right? The Proud Boys, which are, you know, a white supremacist fucking terrorist group, who there's, you know, beat the shit out of like random BLM protesters and what have you. They love flashing this symbol at the camera. Started out as just a, you know, 4chan troll for the media, but if people start taking it seriously and doing it unironically, then you can't just say it's just a troll anymore, because now it's just what it is. Now it is just a dog whistle.
Elected representatives get on the TV and start saying, no, we didn't mean to say it was okay to be white. What the fuck does that mean? And why are we talking so much about race? How was that what filled every single news bulletin for 5 days? Who gives a fuck?
I imagine those that are affected by racism give a fuck. And not random dumb fuck Tumblrites on Twitter saying fuck white people, but usually brown people that are affected by the criminal justice system, the fucking schooling system, police brutality, you know, all the fucking ways in which black people are systemically affected by racism.
I'll tell you who really cared about it, who really delved right into the big issues. The fuckwits at the project. Surprise, so-fucking-prise.
Craig, here's a phrase I'd never thought I'd have to say on this show. Last night, your government voted in support of neo-Nazi ideology in the Australian Senate. Can you explain that?
Okay, well, you can spin it like that, Pete, if you really want to, or you could look at the actual vote that they were voting upon, acknowledging a rise in anti-white racism and being white not being a bad thing. Nothing overly neo-Nazi. It like that, Pete, if you really want to, or you could look at the actual vote that they were voting upon, acknowledging
the deplorable rise of anti-white racism and attacks on Western civilization. It's okay to be white. I'm going to be very, very, very generous to Isaac Butterfield here and say, well, anti-white racism is basically limited to Tumblrites and Twitter posts. And generally when people like the Pauline Hanson lady, who is the founder of a white nationalist far-right political organization, when people like that say attacks on Western civilization, they're talking about immigration. They think that brown people are coming to white countries and outbreeding white people, and it's like white genocide. That's what they think. They think white racism is a combination of random fucking Twitter posts and then this made-up idea of white genocide because white people voluntarily end up having kids with non-white people that immigrate to white countries. And then the it's okay to be white, as we've gone over multiple times, is just like a common fucking white nationalist dog whistle.
a rise in anti-white racism and being white not being a bad thing. Nothing overly neo-Nazi there. And two things that perhaps we could all agree, regardless of your skin colour and background, are okay.
You then had the Attorney General afterwards tweeting about the fact that the government had voted in support of this anti-racism measure. So clearly, the government knew what it was voting on. This was a deliberate vote. This was not a, we meant to say no and we said yes instead. It's not that. He's proud of the fact that he said yes and then went and tweeted about it.
Now, let's forget about the context of this situation and have a look at that tweet directly. That person who is high in the government is suggesting that they deplore racism of any kind. And while leaders are...
I'm gonna guess that most of the boomers in the Australian Senate don't understand the 4chan Zoomer dog whistle that is, it's okay to be white. They probably just heard, oh, well, you're telling me that there's anti-white racism out here, right? Sounds pretty bad to me. All right, mate, all right, I'll vote yes on that. All right, now fucking kick back with a fucking brewski, mate. Let's have ourselves a fucking barbecue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If there's any Aussies in chat, I've done a racism. This is the true racism today.
upset about that. What the fuck? Equality isn't about rising above everybody else. It's about reaching and maintaining equilibrium. Talking about shitheads and being completely racist, here's some fantastic examples from BuzzFeed.
Hey, fellow white guys. It's about to be
Oh my god. Oh my god! Isaac Butterfield. I know this video came out in 2018, but I'm pretty sure this was for New Year's 2017. I remember watching old Chris Ray Gun and Shoe on Head videos of this back in 2016. That's when I remember seeing this for the first time. Isaac Butterfield, you are teleporting me back in time right now to when I was a 17-year-old cringy-ass fucking reactionary kid watching the 15th coverage of this video by whatever fucking reactionary YouTuber. I know Sargon, Chris Ray Gun, Andy Worski, Shoe on Head, Amazing Atheist, or TJ Kirk now. Who else? No Bullshit covered it, I believe. Fucking Teal Deer, just all the fucking old anti-SJW YouTubers. God, takes me back to the day.
A few things we think you could do a little bit better.
First off, try to recognize that America was never great for anyone who wasn't a white guy.
Now, I don't know too much about America, but I have noticed that at several points throughout history, there were a lot of people that were pretty great and did great things that weren't overly white. Perhaps here's some examples on the screen.
Well, I'm sorry, but the exception does not disprove the rule, my friend. You've got some massive celebrities and the one black president that we had, followed up by a arguably racist president. I would argue pretty fucking strongly that Trump is pretty racist. But let's go ahead and look at the statistics, which I've already talked about in the stream. Most black people in America are dirt poor by America's poverty standards, and the poverty line in America is really high. Or sorry, very, very low. You have to be, I think the poverty line in America is like 12K, or like, it's like not that high. Hold on. U.S. poverty line. Yeah. It goes by based on how many people are living in a household. If you're a one-person household, the poverty line in America is $12,760 a year. A year. That's $1,000 a month. That is, well, to give you an idea, my rent each month is $1,580. $1,580 a month is my rent alone. Last month, I believe my power, my utilities, this is like my power and whatnot, ended up going up to about $500 something. So around $2,000 a month just to live. I probably spend $2,000 or $2,500, maybe $3,000 a month on food, groceries, other things that I buy for streaming or whatnot. And I've been trying to save money lately. I haven't even been buying furniture, which I need to do. Like, this is nothing. I spend basically half of this per month just to live where I live here in California, which is actually pretty good for California. This is pretty good. For two people, it's only $17,000, not even double what it is for one person. For three, only $21,000. Still pretty fucking bad. This is really low. And most black people in America, or I should say a significant amount of black people in America, are living at or below the poverty line based on how many people are living in their household. That is not like black people doing pretty good in this country because, oh, Oprah and Obama and Michael Jordan exist.
Your fucking president wasn't white. What are you talking about?
Can we all just agree that Black Lives Matter isn't the opposite of All Lives Matter? Black lives just matter.
Well, there is, when people in that particular movement are telling white people that they should die.
There's no need to overcomplicate it.
When does this happen? Also, it's a movement. Anyone can say they're part of a movement. Like, you don't have a Black Lives Matter registration card, okay? Now, you can, like, join certain, like parts of Black Lives Matter, like certain groups that identify with Black Lives Matter, but like it's a movement. It's an idea. And yeah, white lives matter or all lives matter is a statement BLM would agree with on its own, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's like it's okay to be white. All lives matter is used as a retort to Black Lives Matter by those that do not agree with Black Lives Matter.
Blue lives matter isn't a thing. Cops weren't born with blue skin, right? I mean,
I forgot. I fucking forgot how bad this was. God, this takes me back to 2017. Oh, God.
yeah, they weren't born blue.
What the fuck are you talking about? Of course cops' lives matter. Who writes these fucking videos?
Stop bragging about being woke. Stop saying woke.
Learn what mansplaining is, and then stop doing it.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, and if you're a judge, don't prioritize the well-being of an Ivy League athlete over the woman he assaulted.
That's a very specific example. Once again, maybe not a racism thing or a sexism thing. Maybe that judge was just a big piece of shit.
Feel free to take Kanye West, though.
Yeah, they're talking about the Brock Turner thing. I unfortunately had to learn a lot about the Brock Turner shit because I was in high school when this video came out, and I was a swimmer. I was a 4-year varsity letterman swimmer in high school, and believe me, I heard all about Brock Turner and how that shit went. And in hindsight, yeah, no, the kid got off because he was an affluent white boy. He got off pretty easy. It was like, oh, I think the defense was like, oh, you know, he messed up, but boys will be boys. Don't ruin his life over just a mistake that he made. You know, he raped a woman behind a dumpster, but he's he's got a bright future ahead of him. Don't ruin his life over this. Like, come on, dude. Like, really? It was, come on.
You guys can have him.
You know what you did, Kanye.
But that's not all. BuzzFeed Australia then made this video called People of Colour from Around the World Respond to White. And that video, with nearly 1 million views, has 16,000 upvotes, 65,000 downvotes.
I mean, yeah. Internet, like, YouTube's pretty reactionary.
Sunburn. That's what comes to my mind. Sunburn. If I walk out of the house, I get fucking sunburn.
How do I feel about the word white?
This actually seems like an interesting psychological, analysis if it was done in, like, a lab or whatever. Having it done in a cringy BuzzFeed video probably isn't a good idea because, I mean, fucking hell. Like, what do you expect to happen when you upload a fucking BuzzFeed video like this? Like, you know how people react to this kind of shit online. But no, it is pretty interesting to see. Like, when you ask people, what do they think of when they hear the word white? It's like that test where you ask somebody, you tell somebody a word, and then you listen to see what the first thing that comes to their mind is when they hear it. Some people might think race. Some person might think of a rabbit. I don't know.
Whoever from BuzzFeed Australia come up with this idea for the video, made the video, edited the video, filmed the video, wrote the video, was white. I guarantee you. I just fucking guarantee you.
Privilege, I think power, access, luxury.
I think of Iggy Azalea and Miley Cyrus.
White is a way of being, doesn't always mean skin color. It's a way of thinking.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Wait, hold on, let me elaborate. Oh, Morty, we gotta go to Bendigo to get me cube, Morty. There we go. I'm sorry. I don't know why, but every time I hear an accent, I feel like a burning need to imitate said accent. I don't know why. It's really hard when I play on, like, GTA 5 RP servers, and I'm doing my southern accent character. I got a character named Roland D'Angelo on GTA 5 RP, and, if I ever meet, like, a British person or an Australian person in the game, my southern accent starts to, against my will, become a British or Australian one. It's really fucking annoying. 5M? I do play on 5M. Or no, I play on Core RP. I play on Core, not 5M, sorry. Well, I use 5, well, I launched it on 5M, sorry. It's, I actually have it on my desktop right now. I can show you guys. Where is it? There it is, yeah, 5M right there. See? That's how I play my GTA 5 RP. It's pretty fucking funny. But, yeah, no. Basically what she's saying is that, hold on, let's repeat the fucking meme. Yeah, okay. Race as we see it now, well, race as it's always been, has been, like, socially constructed, okay? By different societies, right? We talked earlier about the Irish people not being considered white, the Italian people not being considered white, and so on. But nowadays, we've reached a point where our understanding of what it is to be of a certain race is more so based on skin color. But there are exceptions to that. Why is Obama black? I know. A groundbreaking question, indeed. Obama has one black parent and one white parent. He is exactly half black, half white. But why is he black? Well, he looks black. Like, if you look at him, you're like, oh yeah, he's black, right? But many people would argue that he acts white. I mean, and he does. That's most of how he's so successful. He acts white. Like, he does, like, the whole, like, super fucking, you know, he doesn't do any type of, what is it, African-American vernacular English. He doesn't do any AAVE, generally. If he does, he's usually doing it to, you know, as, like, a joke or as a meme. He behaves in a way that is, you know, stereotypically white. It's common, as a matter of fact. Anybody here who has studied, like, sociology and media will notice that there's always, like, a tendency for some white writers that want to make a non-stereotypically black character, and they'll have them be, like, super nerdy and not act black. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's been written about extensively by sociologists. Because, in a way, being black and being white, in all intents and purposes, is how you act. There's a lot of performativeness to race. It's true. It's more complicated than just what the color of your skin is.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm so white.
When I think about white, I think about maybe a group of people who I would love to be in harmony with, but don't always feel like they feel the same way towards me.
But Sylvia, we do. I do. Isn't that all that matters? That at least the people around you do? Like, you're never going to make everybody love you. You're never going to make people treat you fairly. Not everyone is going to be a nice person. We don't live in that world. Be happy with the people you're around, and if someone is...
I think we've probably seen enough of the video, because I think he's going to respond to the BuzzFeed thing now, but I think we've heard the vast majority of his arguments, and this has been going on for an hour and 12 minutes. Let's wrap it up, okay? I would love to speak with Isaac Butterfield. I've seen that he's got a history of making some pretty reactionary-leaning content, and I know he's a massive YouTuber that probably wouldn't talk to me, a measly, almost 50,000 sub YouTuber. But I would love to speak to Isaac Butterfield. I know Vosh covered him once and did a not-so-good job, as he would admit. But so did Hunter Avallone. Hunter Avallone used to make the exact same arguments that Isaac Butterfield's making right now. A year ago, or a little over a year ago, he was making these same arguments. And look at Hunter now. Now he's pretty fucking based. And all it took was just having, like, a friendly conversation with him. Well, in Vosh's case, he debated the shit out of him, but then they had some friendly conversations, talked about, you know, sociology, science, all these different topics and whatnot, and brought Hunter over. A lot of these takes aren't necessarily born out of hatred or anything like that from Isaac Butterfield, but I would argue just a lack of information. It's very easy to hear about, like, in the media about people transitioning children and think kids are having their dicks chopped off or whatever. But if you explain to them actually what's going on and the scientific and sociological data backing up this stuff, it's not very hard to bring people over if they're in good faith and willing to have their minds changed. And I can only hope that Isaac Butterfield is in that camp and wants to have his mind changed for the better, or at least hear me out. So I would love to talk to him. I'll send him a Twitter DM after this stream today, and Maybe he'll see this video, because I would like to speak with him on stream or something. Or maybe even off stream if he doesn't want to do it on stream. I don't know. Yeah. It was pretty good.